All right, guys, welcome back for another episode of the J Word Show where we chat, laugh, play, and review. In this episode today, I think we're going to be going over the pros and cons and whether or not you should try to be a full-time content creator, whether it be on YouTube, Twitch, whatever it is. And we'll kind of dive into the ideas and the real pros and cons of those kind of things. I'm Joe, Positive Joe on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all of those things. Variety streamer, but starting to dabble back into Roblox a little bit. Cringe. Kind of like it. Kind of don't like it. I don't know. Haven't decided yet. But, and I also did a massive follow purge on my Twitch. So I can talk about that a little later. But let me throw it over to Jess for her introduction.
Hello, I am Jess, or Bumble777 on Twitch. I am getting better at these intros, except for last time. We're not going to talk about that, though. I do a lot of crafty things. I'm now a strict Valheim streamer. I'm kidding. Just recently. I still don't really have a schedule. Sometimes I mainly play Mondays, sometimes Wednesdays and Fridays, so yeah, that's just me. Follow me on my socials. It's this one. I know it's this one. It's this side. Follow me there.
Nice.
All right, I am JP. I am Narbal JP on Twitch and Twitter. I mainly stream FPS games. I've been playing a little bit of Tarkov and way more Apex Legends as of late, which is really cool, which is like part of my really fun fact at the end. I'm excited to talk about this. This is a really interesting concept to me. I feel like deciding to become a full-time content creator is like a bigger step than, like, obviously it's a bigger step than like choosing a major in college and choosing what you want to do with your life. It's like a huge jump to me that I've never felt in a place myself to do, but like it's very inspiring to see people that start to make that decision. So I've been excited for this one all week.
Yeah, I think in general, I think the first thing that we really need to do is define what a full-time content creator is, right? Because everyone kind of throws that term around a little bit, I think, lightly at times. You always see people like, I'm becoming a full-time content creator. Like, what does that exactly mean? That means that, in my opinion, and my definition of full-time content creator is you are doing that as your primary source of income and your primary job, I guess is the way to go. Like, because, there are tons of people out there that stream, 30, 40 hours a week, but also have a 30 to 40 hour job that's paying the bills. And in my opinion, that is not a full-time content creator. That is a content creation hobby on the side while full-time, whatever your job is. What do you guys think?
So I'd actually define it a little bit differently. I personally stream about 35 hours a week. I don't call myself a full-time content creator because it's not my full-time position. But by definition, full-time, 40 hours a week, I guess I do that. But I think content creation full-time is like so much different than like working 40 hours a week at a job. I think like full-time content creation is not necessarily this is my primary source of income, because you can also just be streaming. And I think full-time content creation is like fully encompassing, like this is your whole life is content creation. This is what you are doing, not necessarily just for income, but like it's also like what drives you. Because like a full-time teacher can be like a okay teacher, but like the good teachers are like, and the great teachers are the ones that, and I use teaching, by the way, guys, just because I'm a teacher. The great teachers are the ones that like really believe in what they're doing, and like teaching is what drives them to do a good job. And I think at the end of the day, like money is money. You need to make money to do a job, because why give a skill for free? But the kind of passion for the skill and for the profession is like really what brings a streamer or a content creator to the forefront. So like really working on those other socials and really just spending their time not streaming wisely to further their career. Because I see a lot of people throwing out full-time content creator, and I'm not coming for those people whatsoever. You can call yourself whatever you'd like. I do not care. But in my eyes, like you really should be trying to further that career if you're gonna call yourself a full-time content creator. That's how I would define it. Like somebody's that's putting in the time, but also spending that time wisely to further their career.
I also agree with both of you. I feel
Yeah.
like though for me it is if you have a job on the side, like I for my whole like adult life, I've had multiple jobs. I can't just stay with one. I've had always two and like school or there's times where I had one job one time and I was like, what do I do with my life? And then I started streaming and then I got another job. So I was working technically three jobs because I consider streaming part of my profession. It's what I want to do. I actually want to be a full-time streamer because I really thoroughly enjoy this, but I know I'll never be able to because I need to have multiple things going on with my life. So I can't just have the one job. But I think if you want to call yourself a full-time content creator or a full-time streamer or whatever, it needs to be your main source of income or the main thing that you do. So, like Joe was saying, if you're streaming 30, 40 hours, but also working 30, 40 hours, then it's still part-time because you're part-time in both jobs, even though they may be full-time jobs, you're still part-time. It's not one is your like whole life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to be like a wonderful conversation because like I don't disagree with anything either of you have said.
Yeah.
And I think that like the definition of a full-time content creator is very like it fluctuates between everybody that has ever heard the word full-time content creator.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I think that this is a really cool starting point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I don't disagree necessarily with what you're saying, JP. I understand that side of it, but when I hear like full time, I feel like there's no way around that first part. You know, content creator, that's
Yeah.
different. You can call yourself anything with content creation, but when you say full time, that encompasses all your time. That I mean, and I do like how you expand on that. It doesn't have to be just streaming. I mean, it involves everything. Like everyone, I think most people understand now content creation. If you're at that kind of scale where you are going full time, you are spending hours and hours and hours off stream, off live content. Some people aren't even making live content, so they're just making a bunch of different things while still trending live on like Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, whatever they're doing. But you know, it all comes down to the nitty gritty of can you pay your bills? Now, of course, there's always exceptions to that rule. Like if you are super well off and have a trust fund or something and you don't need money at all, then you could full-time content create all you want and not worry at all about the consequences of not making any money streaming or content creating. But I think that brings me into the next segment of just like how much you need to make if you are doing content creation. Like, and you know, Twitch is my largest background, right? So breaking it down and everything, I always remind people because I feel like this question comes up often where they're like, I'm thinking about trying to go full time, and these are people that are individuals that don't have large followings yet. Like they may consider themselves having a large following because they have a couple hundred subs or something like that a month, and it's grown, and I'm not taking away from that. That definitely is a large following, and large following is subjective in nature. But when it comes to that, you've got to remember that in order to make $30,000 a year as a partnered streamer that makes $3.50 on a sub of guaranteed money, then you need to be having 24 to 25 subs a day if you streamed every single day, all 352 days a year. And so you need to take that into account and think about that when it comes to just how much income you need to make that kind of money. Now, obviously, there's other driving sources of money, and you'll hear this from all the big time content creators that subs cannot be your primary source of income. Like they're looking for sponsorships, brands. You know, you can't rely on the donations and the subs because those are always all over the place.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's in my opinion, it's an unrealistic goal at most times for someone to try to make it to full-time content creation if they're just going out on a whim and they only have like 100, 200 subs and they're like, I'm gonna go for it. Now, if you're gonna go for it, most people in that situation are making smart decisions where they have a backup plan. They're either living at home still or living with someone that they know can cover the bills or something like that. But I would never ever recommend a content creator to try to go full time if they don't have that bank, right? If they don't know they have the money to maintain their living situation, so that they're not, you know, a couple months later begging people on social media to help them financially. That makes me cringe so much. I can't stand it, and I have no bad feelings for that person because I know from like a month or two before that, or like 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, they're like, I'm moving down south to a content creation house. I'm doing it. I'm definitely going to do it. And they have no life savings whatsoever. And then all of a sudden they're begging people for donations on Twitter or Instagram. They're like, I just need money for my Taco Bell meal for dinner. I'm like, just go home. Like, give up. Like, and that's horrible for me to say, but you know, it's just, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like for me, like that would be so humiliating. And whether it was humiliating to people that have been doing it is maybe a testament to their confidence or a testament to the way that they view themselves or they view their viewers, um, who are giving them this livelihood. But going full time, I've always had 3 rules. Like if I was ever going to do this full time, the first rule is that I need to make 3 times my rent every month as a baseline, no matter what.
3 times your
That's
rent?
what I want to do. Yeah, that's what I want to do no matter what, like as a job. So like that's being like kind of transparent. Like I'm making more than that at this point, teaching and streaming together. And obviously like teaching is up here and streaming is down here for me. But like I would want to make 3 times my rent, but then I'm realizing now that like that's not going to sustain my bills. That's not what I need to do. So, but that was my first rule going into streaming. My second rule going into streaming is if I'm ever going to do this full time, I need to have enough people reaching out to me for monetary sponsorships that I can pick and choose. And that doesn't mean tens. That means like 100 or more, like reaching out every couple months to make sure that like I can sustain myself not off of my sub revenue or anything like that, because those are the things that I'm hearing people say in the content creation world, is that this is really how they're making money. This is really how they're building their nest egg for themselves. And I'm so bad with money that I know that if I ever tried to make it in the content creation world full time, I would need way more than I could ever think to spend. And I think that's like, obviously it's an unrealistic goal, which is why it's not a goal. It's just like kind of a rule. Um, I want to be in a spot where I have enough money going into full-time content creation that it's not really a worry that I'd have to make those kind of statuses or kind of go that direction of I can't do it anymore because of this or that. Which is why I'll probably never go into full-time content creation.
That's what you guys think. We're gonna be famous. Hayward Show.
You never know. Come back to this timestamp.
Yeah.
In 4
Full
years.
time, JP.
Full time. No, you guys will be full time. I'll be working at Kmart.
Okay.
I think like I don't know when JP said that's embarrassing. Like I honestly I feel the same. I feel weird putting up my little tiny sub goal on my stream of 10 a week that I just leave for weeks on end because I don't hit it, but I just forget about it, so I don't restart it. So I let it sit there because like I don't like asking for subs. I stream because I find it really fun and I like interacting with my chat. And if they do sub, it's so amazing that they do. But I don't want to have to ask. I don't want them. I don't do that for the money. So when I
Mhm.
do see people like begging for money, I'm like, it's weird. Like I'd love to do this full time because I find this so fun. But
Mhm.
I don't like asking for money. So
It's just
if I do,
$5.
yeah,
Oh my god, that video.
If you don't have $5, you
God, yeah,
probably shouldn't be watching Twitch.
that's bad.
Oh
it's
yeah.
That's
just
bad.
uh, like I sub to certain people and I love giving out bits and stuff because it's fun and I know it helps a lot. It does help a lot, especially when you're trying to start out or if you're just trying to maintain your stream. But I don't want to have to physically ask them or be like, I'm trying to get this goal, like get this goal. The only time that I was really pushing the goal is when we did our charity stream, but I
Mhm.
don't like
Yeah,
pushing anything like that.
but that's a different
Except for the
type.
follower girl. I like the
Yeah,
follower goals. I'm like, hey, we
yeah,
hit this, which I still have to do my
It's
12-hour
free.
stream.
yeah. Asking money for charity is a little bit of a different vibe.
hmm
Completely.
It's like it's already known that when you ask for it, you're not really asking for it. It's like just
Yeah,
you're asking for the children.
Especially if it's
for
something
the
like
children.
Tiltify.
For the children.
Yeah, so so I think all of us have a little reserve, basically saying, like, if someone's watching the episode now and thinking to themselves, well, maybe I'll go full-time content creation. Like, make sure you have set goals, make sure that you understand the risks that are involved, and I think the biggest thing is understanding the work that you have to put in. These, like, a lot of people, I think, have the wrong thought of just thinking that it's easy at that level, like Nick Merckx or you know um the big ones like Ninja, all of them, right? Everyone thinks that
Lupo,
they're
yeah.
doing it easy, right? That it's they're just going live and that's it. No, behind the scenes they are constantly working, all the time, and they say that over and over.
Yeah.
And I've heard Nick Merckx talk about this specifically and just saying like it's hard, man, like really, really hard, that he worked so hard and it's gotten a little easier, but it's not like it's a cakewalk in that you can get dropped off at any time. And I think that's the scariest thing, right? And it's changed a little bit now with how content creators are getting these big time contracts for like years.
Mhm.
And back in the day it wasn't like that, right? So you really were taking a huge risk because you could be cut off at any moment. It just takes that one slip up or one thing said wrong that's taken the wrong way by the public, and then you are outed forever.
Yeah, and you can even look at like one of the biggest streamers on Twitch, one of the oldest streamers on Twitch, Summit, had one misstep where he accidentally showed a vase on cam and he got dropped by his biggest sponsor
Oh yeah,
like the day after. And obviously, he got picked up by another one, but
yeah,
he like it can go like that. And you see it a lot happen with like a lot of even not like streamers. You see it a lot with like mainstream Hollywood people. Like they have all of this success, they're going the complete right direction. They're maybe the most viewed first episode on TV of their reboot, Roseanne Barr. And then it's like 2 a.m. and they have to have that one tweet that like is just edgy enough, and their shows get canceled and they get banned on social media and their whole career is over. And like you just hope for those people that they're okay, but it can change like that. And that's like the scariest part about being in the public eye in general.
It's the cancel culture.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So getting back to the main topic, I'll throw this one to you, Jess. This question: which platform do you think, if you were going to go full-time content creation, should you really invest in initially? Like if you were just getting off the ground and you really wanted to be full-time content creator, which one would you push the hardest and make like your mainstay platform for content creation, and then branch out obviously to the others?
So actually, this was something that I put in a lot of consideration because I was looking into this, I would say Twitch. To really start on Twitch, start getting that viewership, interacting with people, because you can live interact with people, and that's what a lot of people like. You can start doing what you're really into. It's not just video games. I was trying to start on YouTube, and YouTube is really hard to start on. You have to have a lot of content and really research it, and that's what I was doing. And then my friends told me about Twitch, and I started working on Twitch, and with that you can stream and also put your streams on YouTube and make content on the side for YouTube. So I think if you want to start becoming a content creator, I would start with Twitch and look into not just the video games but other type of streaming, because there's crafts, there's different things. Um and then start moving into other platforms as well.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, I kind of knew what your answer was going to be, because I feel like you and I have had this conversation maybe in the past, or at least something very similar to it. So I knew your answer from the start. How about you, JP?
I'm like between two, because I agree with everything that you say, and I also think it's easier to start on Twitch, because not necessarily easier to gain popularity and success on Twitch, but it's easier to start on Twitch simply for the fact that you can just press go live and go live and hope for the best.
That's definitely true.
But I think right now in the current social media climate, I think the best way for a new creator to start is to start on TikTok and Twitch at the same time. And I for the simple reason that you can stream on Twitch and get all of the benefits from just pressing going live, clipping yourself and downloading your clips, and then you can put them in a Dropbox folder, put a witty title on it, put some text on the screen, and upload it to TikTok. And the virality of TikTok is literally gigantic. I've been doing like so much research on TikTok because I'm like, should I really put stock in this? Like, should I really like go for this and try to grow that way? And it's crazy watching what can happen with like the correct things. And it's once you figure out how the algorithm works, which apparently is not super hard, but I haven't figured it out yet. You can apparently just go viral out of all the time. And I see people talking on my Twitter, especially about how easy it is to go viral on TikTok and whether it's easier or not, whatever. I think you should start at least 2 at the same time. And I think just to put yourself in front of as many eyes as possible. And I think TikTok and Twitch are the two that can make it happen for you.
Nice. So if I had to tell my neighbor who was just starting to get into content creation what they should do at the start, is I think my biggest, and I've been through it all, right? Like, just to give a little background, like I have had well over 100 concurrent viewer, like all that kind of stuff. I had those sponsorship opportunities coming to me through my Roblox streams, which, you know, I'm proud of, but at the same time everyone cringes every time I talk about it. But, you know, it went really well for me at that time frame. But this is my recommendation for if you're brand new starting off. And I'll take the content creator that we all, or most people know, because she was on the docket for Content Creator of the Year, Alana Pierce. She just signed a Twitch partnership, I believe, recently, within the past like couple weeks. But for the entire time before that, she refused to sign any affiliate agreement or partner agreement with any of the sites that had exclusivity, and she just streamed to all of them. Every single time she went live, she would stream to all of them. So she streamed to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube all at the same time. Sometimes would do Twitter live with Instagram live, like all these things all together. And I highly recommend that. Like, everyone's always out for that like home run hit, but I'm telling you, as a Twitch content creator, you will never make that much money that quick unless you are connected with someone that is going to be able to give you that viewership and spotlight very early on, or connected with something that gives you that big of a viewership early on, because the discoverability is just nowhere. Same thing kind of with YouTube, is it can happen overnight, but it's going to be difficult. And you really have to have the exact right algorithm and get lucky with how YouTube kind of picks you up. But if you're streaming to all of it, then you can kind of gauge where your audience is coming from, which one is picking up more than the other. You can continue making content on YouTube through clips and things like that, and TikTok to help with all of that stuff. But then you'll really know this one's working better. I have more of a viewership on here. It's more supportive. People are asking for where to donate, things like that. And that's kind of what Alana did, is that she had a huge following on YouTube, and she still has one. But when it comes to the YouTube Live, her simple answer was that she's never monetized Twitch, but YouTube, the chat is always so toxic that it goes from YouTube to Twitch, and sometimes people will even go from her YouTube chat, make a Twitch account just to get away from that. And she says that now I'm just going to monetize Twitch and I'll continue making YouTube content, because she's already built a brand on YouTube because of her live stream content and then just her everything else that she would have done anyway. I really think that you should just explore them all instead of just going all in on one, because more than likely that won't fully succeed right away, and it will give you the most exposure to as many individuals as possible if you just branch out and do all of them. And honestly, when I did the whole follower purge on my channel, I really thought about just making a new channel, because my channel is so old and it's old. It's from like Justin TV days and stuff, and I had like 11.75k followers or whatever, and I brought it all the way down to less than 200. I'm not even joking. Literally purged my entire follower list, and it's because
Like
how
people
many
that follow you?
Yeah, on Twitch. And
Wow.
it's because how many of these individuals have I seen in my chat, and I kept track of it and things like that. And not to mention, when it comes to actual reach on Twitch, you look at those things, and I'm only reaching 1,000 of them when it comes to the notifications. And then of those notifications, only 40 to 50 people are actually clicking on those things. And so taking that and taking my other socials like Discord and Twitter and things like that, reaching out to everyone that is still in contact with me, those are the ones that are actually showing up to the live streams. And you'll get anywhere from like 10 to 30 people at a time, but it's like, why have those followers there? They're useless to you, literally useless, because there's no way to reach out to them on Twitch, right? Unlike all the other platforms, Twitch is probably the worst for reaching out to your live mass following that you have. You can have 100,000 followers and not reach a single one of them if you don't DM them or something. It's a really poor thing that Twitch has going on, and they really need to fix it. And you're starting to see that kind of boil over with like YouTube and stuff.
I've actually had a couple of viewers enter my chat recently, and they're like, I've gotten a notification for you and I don't remember following you. I'm like, well, welcome back. And I've had like 3 people pop in that said that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't remember you either, but hey, welcome to the stream. How are you? Because like, it's just random people saying, I have a notification for you. I'm like, cool. You're not even in my Discord.
Right.
So that was strange this week. It was only this week. I was like, okay, getting random notifications.
Yeah. So
That's
I think
cool.
in general,
really
it's
just
tough.
in the early days of your content creation career. It's really just about getting yourself in as many eyes as possible.
Yeah.
Really, that's the only thing that you should do, is try to get yourself in front of as many people's screens as possible. And I think honestly, like, Joe's strategy is probably the best strategy to do that, because obviously you're putting yourself in so many different places.
I actually think the opposite. Although it is nice to have yourself in front of that many different viewers, I think what that streamer did by streaming to all those different platforms will actually hinder a lot of people who are just starting out trying to get their name out there. It's nice to have your name in different places, so like TikTok and YouTube, but I think streaming in 2 places at once becomes difficult because you're reading chat in 2 different areas. And it could be confusing for some who are watching strictly on Twitch and you're reading chat for YouTube and they're like, what are you talking about? So I think trying to stream strictly to one at a time is good because you could still stream to both, but keeping it one at a time will keep that chat base like exclusive, and they feel like your time is more towards them versus being separated. And the Chatter's main the main purpose is to not only just watch, but also to interact with you. And if you're also interacting with a different platform and they're confused, then they're going to want to click off because you're not necessarily giving them the attention, but they're also not knowing what's going on. So
That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do like the fact of streaming in different places and not being exclusive to one, just not doing it all at once. Like have specific days where you're like, oh, here's my schedule, and these are the days I'm streaming on here. So if someone does happen to have a Facebook and they want to catch you on this day, they can watch you in Facebook Live or YouTube Live and watch you on these different days, and you are getting not only the same viewers but also more, and they can all like, oh, well, they're gonna be streaming on Twitch. I'll make a Twitch account. I'll watch them that day. Not only just
I gave before I hit affiliate on Twitch, I gave 3 months for it was probably a little bit over 2, probably not a full 3 months, streaming with Restream on Mixer, YouTube, and Twitch at the same time. And it was an awful experience. It was like not an awful experience. It was just like there were a lot of plates in the air, it seems like. And not necessarily that anybody else was watching me on Mixer or YouTube because I hadn't really built a brand there at all. But and like most of my chats were still from Twitch, but it just felt very chaotic streaming on all three. That was part of the reason that I said like Twitch and TikTok, because it's not like you're live on 2 at the same time. So I definitely agree with you on that. This is giving me so many different viewpoints. I love it.
Sure. I will say this back to that would be you can combine all 3 chats on your channel so that you can see everything and it kind of tells you which one's coming from which one. But obviously, I think the easiest way to make sure that your chat doesn't get confused on that stuff would be to like overlay your chat onto your stream, and then they would be able to see all the different chats in one place. Obviously, as you get larger, that's a little bit harder. But I'll also rebuttal a little bit about how you're like saying that someone could create an account from like one to the other. That's definitely true. But I think if both are going on at the same exact time, if you're making an acknowledgement that you are live on multiple platforms, it actually creates a bridge rather than a barrier there. And it actually kind of, you're like, oh, I'm also live on YouTube and stuff like that. And someone watching on Twitch live and in real time, in my opinion, is much more likely to make that bridge over to YouTube as you're live there because you just said it live versus, you know, saying at the end of your stream or during it, like, hey, I have a YouTube account. I just posted a video. Go check it out. I think the person on Twitch is much less likely to check that out than saying, hey, if you want to have a different experience, check out my YouTube live. I'm live right now on that right now, and you can choose which one's best. It gives the viewer kind of that option to make that decision for themselves, and it doesn't hinder you or hurt you either way. I think when you're doing one on different days, you're really going to separate that audience, and that's fine. If that's the route you want to go, you're going to separate that audience, and you probably won't have any mingling in between. They may try to go to your YouTube, but more than likely, and this is just statistically, we know that statistics shows that people are going to stay on their platform and not move from their platform. So like if they like Twitch, they're going to stay on Twitch, and if you're not streaming on Twitch, they're probably going to go find one of the millions and millions of other content creators and find someone that they enjoy for that day that you're off, even if they love you like crazy. Now, that's not everyone. You're definitely going to have a core set value of people that will go from platform to platform on you, but those are much less than the grand mass thing, which is tough. It's tough. I think that's...
It's definitely hard to get your name out there when you're starting off. Like, it's hard to get your name out there when you've been established for 2 years plus, many years back to Justin TV. Like, it's hard. We have a lot of streamers on all the platforms that are streaming constantly every day. So unless you have something super unique or you start getting that community together, it is extremely hard just to pull people in. Like, I have people randomly finding me at 2 a.m. and I'm like, hey, welcome.
Right.
Only because it is 2 a.m. But that's pretty much it. Because once you start streaming, especially like on the peak times, it's very difficult because like a bunch of games that are popular like Valheim, it's flooded. there's so many viewers watching so many different people playing that game and Overwatch and all these different things. Like, you kind of find your niche, find what you like to do, and once people start seeing that you're really passionate about that, and they'll start coming back to you, and then you'll start growing.
Sure. What do you guys think is the largest barrier to going full-time content creation other than money and time? Because those are like hand in hand. This is a tough
The
question.
biggest barrier. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is a tough question.
Sustainability, not just money wise, but like, can you continue doing that as a career?
Yeah, like, is it? Yeah, I agree
Sorry,
with
kids
that.
are screaming. I'm like, what's going on? Like, can you do that? Like, can you see yourself doing that as a career? Can you see doing that like for 10 years? Like, I think that part is a barrier because, like, I would love to do that, but also, like you guys were saying, like, you could fall off, you can become unpopular at points, and also the games. Like, if you like the specific game, like, how many times can you play that game? Can you play it all the time? Where your viewers want to see you play that all the time? Like, also that too, or whatever you decide to be doing with your streams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part can be a barrier, especially like the longevity of it.
I agree.
Yeah, me too. I think one of the other like main things that deters people from becoming full time is that they can't figure out the balance. And we talked about this in like the very, very first episode of the podcast. If you guys haven't seen that, you should definitely go check it out. It's all about would you date a gamer? It's filmed on Valentine's Day. It's fine. But and all of this stuff is still available on our YouTube channel. So if you guys want to hang out and check that out. But the balance between like fitting real world interaction with people with full-time, this is my everything job, and keeping it fun is really difficult. And like it really just goes hand in hand with what Jess said with the sustainability. Like, if I start going full time with this, is it going to start to feel like a job and I'm not going to want to do it anymore? Because I've been in that spot, not necessarily making the amount of money to go full time that I need, but feeling like I'm working so hard at a job and then gaming isn't fun anymore. And it can happen. It doesn't happen like that. It happens gradually. And I think deciding where your channel can go or where your creation career can go if you're pigeonholed into one game is really scary. Like, if you're getting popularity, for example, like Landmark is a streamer that only plays Tarkov, and he's like the top Tarkov streamer ever. It's like him and Pestily. If Landmark wanted to go to another game, like how many people are going to actually follow him from Tarkov to another game? I think that can be super scary. Like, what if I get tired of this? So yeah, the sustainability part and the balance part, I think, are the biggest like deterrents. It would be for me at least. What do you
I
think, Joe?
definitely, sorry.
Oh, sorry, no.
No, I definitely saw that going from Skyrim when WoW came out with the classic, and I started playing WoW. I had a lot of hardcore Skyrim viewers, and they're like, "This is not Skyrim." I'm like, "No, but it's not very similar, but it's something close to it." And they're like, "It's not Skyrim." I'm like, "But I'm just playing it for a day." They're like, "But it's not Skyrim." I'm like, so I could definitely see that part. Wait, what you said, JP? Sorry,
Yeah.
Joe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you guys are kind of spot on. I think direction is definitely one of the biggest barriers for full-time content creation, just trying to make sure you know what you're going for. Like I feel like, and I do feel like a lot of big time content creators just say like go for it and stuff, but it's easy for them to say in context because you know they got their big break. And I don't know of many content creators that are as big, like, you know, thousands of people watching them that have made it without some sort of, not help, because I hate to say, I don't want to say help, because they've made themselves, they've brought their brand to a point where that help comes in either through friendship or through gaming with someone else, and then that helps them kind of continue to grow, or exposure, stuff like that, whether it be their sponsors that do that for them or whatnot. But just to get to that level, you have to have some sort of direction and stay that direction. And I think that finding what that direction is, or just the content, right? Coming up with your content and sticking to it and being better than anyone else at that content is important to get there. And I'll use myself as an example again with Roblox. Is I went into that space, I looked at what was lacking on the Twitch scene, and it was mostly, at the time that I got big, it was a bunch of kids, rightfully so, streaming, but none of them had overlays, none of them had great graphics, none of them had good audio. It was all just kind of from their laptops or something like that. So when I came into the space, I had everything planned and ready so that everything was over the top. And one of the biggest comments that I had coming into my channel and on the chat itself was like, I feel like I'm watching a movie. I'm in a movie. And these kids would get so excited and crazy about it and just do pogs all over the chat being like, I'm in a movie. And then I would do like the intro scenes, which everyone has now, right? Everyone has the intro scenes with animations and stuff. And they're like, oh my God, what is this? Like, what is this? I've never seen something like this before. And that just keeps them and sticks it to them. And honestly, if I kept going with it, I'm sure I'd be much at a different place now if I had just kept going, because I was really going well. And life takes you in a different direction, and that's my direction, right? Like, I had other priorities that I could have put behind content creation, and I could have kept pushing, and I probably would be successful in content creation at this point in time much more than I am now. Would it be sustainable to sustain a life when it comes to bills, things like that? Probably on the cusp, maybe not even, and that's just too big of a risk, right, for me. But that's kind of where you're at, and so you have to know your direction, set your limits, and know when to stop, I guess is the best way to put it. Don't drag yourself all the way down to where you're really, really struggling just to try to make it in the content creation scene. Remember that it is still less than 1% of content creators out there that make it, like well less than 1% of them, right? There are hundreds of millions of people trying to make these content creation their career, and none of them are succeeding except for a few. So be aware of that. Do it for and I think almost all the content creators will say this: do it for fun initially and just see what kind of happens with it. And if you find a passion for it and you know that you really want to go for it, then do it. If you want to make it more than a hobby, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Like, one of the biggest things I hate is when someone says, oh, you take this too serious, like content creation too serious. You should just be laid back. And it's if your goal is to be successful at it, then you need to put time and effort into it and be serious about it. Like, be upset. Like, don't feel bad for being upset that you had a down viewer day or something. Like, I feel like there's all this backlash when someone's like, oh, you should be happy for your viewers that you have or something. Like, I get that. Right. But if you're used to having a certain amount and you didn't hit your goal, be upset about that. Find out, why did that happen? Why did it occur? And make the change and make it better the next time. I think that, it's one of those things that irks me a lot when someone tells me like, oh, you're taking it too serious for the streaming, or you should be more laid back. When you care so much about it, and if you're not successful, you're upset about it, and then someone's like, no, don't worry, it'll be fine. Like, you shouldn't be thinking that way. Would you be thinking that way if your job came up to you and said, oh, we're gonna demote you to janitor instead of teacher, JP? We just don't think that your teaching skills are up to snub. So, like, obviously not. You'd be so upset. It's one of those things.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a lot of people, including us, that are like eager to tell you what to do or what not to do. And I don't necessarily think all of them are going at it as positively or as like candid as we are. I think people often see somebody doing something different than them and don't think it's the way that it's going and just make that tweet, don't do this because it makes you look stupid. And there's a lot of that's everywhere. That's in every single profession, every single social media space, everywhere. But the difference with streaming is there's very little barrier to entry, and with content creation there's very little barrier to entry. You really just need to have the gear to do it, and that is a I don't want to discount it. It's a huge barrier for entry for a lot of people. um and I think that when somebody's starting out in content creation, no matter how crap their quality is, like, the way that you're starting to do that because you enjoy doing it makes it worth it. And whether or not you pop off on your channel right away or not, if you're having fun doing it, go for it. This podcast is about going full time. It is not whether you should start streaming, because if you feel like you want to start streaming, you should start streaming. It's super fun. Yeah, it can be toxic sometimes, but it's a blast to share what you love doing with somebody. It always is. And to do it on Twitch is just like a real pleasure, or YouTube, or wherever else you like to stream, D Live or whatever it is. You should do it. Whether or not you go full time ever is up to you, but you should do it either way, in my opinion.
And another thing is, like, also, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. So if you want to do full time, start networking. Network, talk to people, help people, do the raids, raid people. Not only do you help them by sending your viewers, but you also help yourself by introducing yourself to a different channel that you might not have looked at before. And you may have similar interests. I always raid. Even if I have 3 viewers, no viewers, I always raid because you never know. And I want to send my people, I don't want to just cut off the stream. I want to send my people to someone else who's either doing a similar game or the same game. But it also helps you network and it helps you build a bigger community. And if you want to go full time, then you have to do that as well.
And learn grammar,
Please.
for emails.
Yes.
Is that
Put
me?
your business email in your Twitter profile.
It's like I
Do
sent
it.
you an email when we first
No. Yours is great. Yours
Just
is great.
sent
Looks
Joe
at
an
me.
email that said,
Yours
"What
is
do?"
What do stream good, please?
What do?
So, okay, so this is gonna bring me to the last question of this segment. What would you need to go full-time content creation yourself? Which means dropping your jobs, right? If you had a job. Now, Jess, you kind of went over this, how you wouldn't be able to do, but remember, there's going to be multiple things you have to do within content creation. You'd have to do YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. You probably have a TikTok. So there's plenty of stuff to do in content creation that will keep you busy. All right. But what would you need, both like monetization wise, like how much money would you need? What kind of viewership are you looking for? What kind of exposure? How many subs on YouTube? That kind of stuff. Break it down for me. What would you need to go full-time content creation? I can start if you want. I'll start.
Yeah.
All right. So, as you know, I broke it down, right? I broke it down before with how much exactly you would need, right? For you to make $30,000 a year, right? Which would be right around 25 subs a day or so, which is a crazy number, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking
Gives me
about
anxiety.
yeah, we're talking about right around like 750 subs a month or so, okay? And so for me, I'd have to double that. Literally would have to double that. I would need $60,000 a year to make it worthwhile, and that's just based on my current living situation, right? Like I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I work at a hospital. I make a certain amount of money doing that. I have a family coming. I have a wife. I have a house. Those kind of things. I couldn't just go on a whim and just be like, oh yeah, I have $30,000 guaranteed, which isn't really guaranteed because they're subs. That's what I'm going to look for. Or I would need some sort of branding deal that would give me sustainability for multiple years. But even that, I'd really have to be pushed over the edge. Like, this would have to be something that really blew up to a proportion much larger than that, I think, for me to quit my full-time job and do that. But I do know that I'd be able to get a job after if it ever failed. So that kind of gives me a little bit of a kind of leeway in attempting it. But yeah, numbers wise, it doesn't matter, like viewers, subs, whatever, as long as, or viewers, subscribers on like YouTube, but like subs on Twitch or I don't know what they're called on YouTube. Join supporters,
Members, I think.
members. Yeah. You'd have to have a certain amount of support there that would be monetized into close to $60,000 a year, whether it be branding, whatever it is, because then I would be able to sustain my family and make sure that I have that money available to me. And I know I break it down to just money, but in reality, that is the world. Like, you need money to live. So
yeah,
you can't just go away from that and be like, oh, it'll be fine. I have a following. I'll make money later. Like, that's not how it works in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be looking for all of the things that I have right now, at least. That $60,000 number is probably a little less than I'd be looking for. Just in personally, because I am bad with money, so I'd probably want closer to 65 ish per year, like money wise, is what I would need to feel comfortable quitting my job. Honestly, I don't see anything that would make me want to go full time at this very moment. My job is the greatest job in the entire world. In case you guys don't know, I teach elementary school music. It is the coolest job in the entire world. But we are speaking in hypotheticals, so I would need enough of a following that I feel like I can branch off into other things than what I'm currently doing and still retain that following.
Sure.
Teaching music on Twitch.
Yeah, so hypothetically, if you were doing music on Twitch with a 3,000 something person live viewing every time, sustaining a $125,000 salary ish about per subs and stuff like that per month with sponsors from Yamaha and other things like that, Berkeley, I don't know, stuff like that.
That's
You'd
easy.
say you go for
I'd
it?
do it. I do it
Makes the
tomorrow.
recorders.
Yeah. I would do it tomorrow. I would never touch a recorder again. I would
I
do it
love
tomorrow. I love the recorder. That's an hour and a half long conversation about the recorder, but I would never touch a recorder again. I would buy
I was
a
gonna
way
ask if you
better
can bring
guitar.
one in next time.
I have
Bring
one.
a recorder.
It's right over
Yeah.
there.
Good point.
Play Hot Cross Fun. Yeah. No, I would do it tomorrow. If I could somehow, I feel like I still am in a place in my life that I want to use my degree. Because like, not necessarily because I work so hard for it, but just because like I enjoy using it so much. Like as much as teaching is a bad marriage, like I love it. Teaching bad marriage, by the way, is because you never really get what you need, but you stay in it for the kids. That's why teaching is bad marriage, but it's literally the greatest job in the entire world. So that's what I'd need. I'd need it to be because with teaching, it's also kind of like if you stop for a certain amount of time and then try to come back to it, everything you know is viewed as obsolete because you haven't been growing professionally for this amount of years, and it's really hard to get hired. So if I ever did go full time, it would be okay, I can't teach anymore type deal. How about you, Jess?
I would go full time in an instant. What? Like now. Let's do it. I'm kidding. Not right now. But what I would need, I would definitely need a little bit more than what I'm currently making. And I'm making a decent amount, but I would need a little bit more. I'm not gonna go for less because obviously I can make more. I can make even more than this if I really put myself out there. But you know, I like my job. My job is nice. My coworkers are great. I thoroughly enjoy streaming, and I do take breaks here and there because I work so late that I need that kind of break from streaming. But I think I would go. I would do it. I love streaming. I love content creating, and I have so many ideas for different things. Like I'm constantly creating, like I just finished this little square. Like I'm constantly creating something so I can constantly do something in content creation, whether it's YouTube videos, Twitch, TikTok, whatever. I want to go ghost hunting. You guys want to go ghost hunting?
Oh, that would be pretty fun.
Yeah, right? That'd be great. I wanted to do that for YouTube. Like I have a lot of ideas that I could branch off on, so it's not just one platform. But definitely would have to make a little bit more than what I am with my job to sustain that for myself.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
You know, mini
But
segue off of that with your whole YouTube and stuff idea. Before the pandemic happened and everything, Yerf and I were in conversations about sending me out and getting like little like videographies of each of our content creators. So I would visit all of you guys at your like hometown or whatever, and then take a video for like an introduction basically of you as a content creator for Team Untold. We were gonna do that, and then everything hit the fan. So but that would have been really fun. Yeah, you know,
that'd be
cinematic,
really
Cool.
all
cool.
that cool stuff. But
Welcome to Vegas.
basically, yeah. And I honestly, I could have gotten you
Nowhere.
and Ripley in at the same time. So it
Yeah,
would've
that would
been
have
easy.
been great.
Okay. So the bottom line is, I think from all of us, from just the grand scheme of things, is that content creation full time is a steep hill, and I think that you need to be ready and prepared to do it. But also, don't be afraid if you have a clear set, clear goal, clear trajectory, and understanding your limits. Like, if you know what the risks are involved, if you know the financial burden in which is involved, if you're not hitting your marks, you know, stuff like that, and you're willing to take those risks or know that those risks won't affect you long term, then go for it. You know, I think the whole thing about it used to be like coming out of college or whatever, it's like go for your dream job, just go for it, do whatever you want to do a starter, do a startup right out of college and stuff. That's your best time to do it, because later on in life you won't be able to. I think that's basically the same for content creation. If you really think that you want to do that, start it up right away, so that if it does fail, you still have time to get back on your feet and everything. But that brings us to our weekly PNR, which is a positivity or rant. Last week Jess had a rant, which is fantastic. I'm sure that comes once in a blue moon, so it'll probably be a positive notion this time.
I had one this time too, but I'm like, I'll do something positive instead.
Oh, you should definitely do the rant.
You should
Definitely do the rant. We'll start with
I'll
JP though, because I
do-
think he had one right from the get-go. So let's hear it.
I do. I have gotten back into Apex Legends like so hard. So I played it like literally day one. I was excited about it, and I'm shaking my camera all over the place talking about it.
Gah!
But I was so excited literally day one from Apex, and it just wasn't the boom that I thought it was. And now that I've come back to it after playing other battle royales, like I played PUBG again, terrible idea.
Oh, horrible.
I played Fortnite. I've played all of these different battle royales. I even played like the Mordhau battle royale. Don't do it. But the Apex Legends is like literally such a smart game. Like the devs are so smart, in my opinion. The looting system is so intuitive. If you drop a weapon that has attachments on it that your other equipped weapon can use, it will switch them out as you drop that weapon. That is the coolest thing. It'll automatically stack things. You don't have to like play Tetris or like find things in your inventory. The movement is super good. The engine is super good. The servers are normally awesome. The rank system is super well thought out. The trios and duos are both available, and the ranked is trios. I think it's just like such a well thought out game that like people didn't really give a chance at first. And I see it turning around now, and the concurrent player count is going up, and the pro scene is like the pro scene is really benevolent. Like there's a really great pro scene. The pros are all really cool, and I see it making a turnaround and like being brought more into the public eye. There's more streamers that are playing it, and I think it'll help it a lot. But basically, like my positive thing is like if you haven't gone back to it in a minute, like give it a shot. Like give it a couple more hours and see if you like it, because the gunplay is super satisfying. The movement is super satisfying. You can res your teammates even if they full die. That is like the coolest thing to me. It was the first one to like do that before Warzone. Like you get their respawn tokens, you can respawn them at different spots, and I think that's like super cool. um Now they've implemented so many different things that make it easier, and it just keeps you in the game, which I think makes it super interesting to stream, because you can always come back and you can always keep talking to your teammates, and you're not necessarily sitting there for 15 minutes while they finish a game because somebody finished you while you were down. Like I think it's just a really streamable game. It's a certain amount of memeable game. It's like it's just all around awesome. So I've just been really back into it, which has been really fun for me. That's my positivity of the day.
Hashtag ad. I'm just kidding.
Dude, I wish. If you guys are watching this.
How about you, Jess? Positivity or rant this week? Which one?
Positivity.
Bummer.
I will start off though. I was called a disgrace to my work.
Oh my
And
god.
What?
I had a really tough phone call with a
It's,
guest. He wanted me to call hotels for him, and I'm like, can't do that, sir. But it wasn't taking the answer I was giving him. Called me a disgrace, started yelling at me, started swearing at me, and I'm like, I'm going to disconnect this call. And I hung up. But I'm like, I've never been called a disgrace to my company before, and the whole time I was keeping such an even tone, and I cried. I cried afterwards, not because I was upset, because I spent 35 minutes keeping my cool. Like I needed that release. I was just like, oh, people are going nuts, man. But my positivity is a little dirty, but I got a penny board
Yes.
Nice.
from 1970.
Whoa.
I'm so excited. I've never really ridden a skateboard before. I've always wanted one, could never like afford one when I was younger. But I'm super excited to have this, especially from the 1970s, because I'm all about the 60s and 70s.
Wait, so have you ever skateboarded before?
Briefly, my brother had a skateboard, but I always wanted one. And of course, my brother's amazing now, but before, if I wanted to use it, he was about to use it. So I could never use it. I roller skated, I rollerbladed, I tried skateboarding here and there, but I'm excited to learn and have my own that I can skate in the house because we have tile.
Sure.
It's my house. Also, I'm making another blanket, so I'm making squares. I just finished one, so that's good.
Nice.
Oh, and I repotted my little plants. So I have a bunch of like
Awesome.
plants that I'm giving out because I made too many. Super excited. This
Nice.
one's basil. So yeah, those are my yeah.
Nice.
I'm always doing stuff.
I have a rant this week. So, listen, you guys know what traffic circles are? First of all, you know how Massachusetts, they're known as mass holes for driving.
Yes.
You know why? Because they're horrible drivers. They're the worst drivers in America. You can't tell me otherwise. Coming from New York, so much better driving there. Massachusetts, the worst ever. The literal worst ever. Okay, so traffic circles. You know how they work, or apparently no one knows how they work because they always mess it up. It makes me so angry because either people are fully stopped at the yield or they're like slowly going through the circle and stopping for everyone as they come in. Like,
roundabouts?
Yeah, roundabouts is another name for them.
I was like, what are traffic
rotary.
The way that a traffic circle works is as you're coming up to it, it's a yield into the traffic circle. If no one is in the circle, you have the right of way to get into the circle. And if you're in the circle already, you have the right of way until you exit the circle. So no one coming in has the right of way. They're yielding to you. So if you're going around the circle, you don't need to stop every yield sign to let the guy in. Or if you're at the yield sign, it's not a stop sign, so you shouldn't be stopped there waiting for no one to come. Like, go in. It's meant so that it's continuous traffic. In the perfect world, in a traffic circle, there would never be any stoppage. All right, I'm done.
The outside is for when you're instantly turning.
Yeah, you're supposed to go
is when you're going
right in.
around. Yeah.
Right in. People just don't understand this concept, and it doesn't matter if I'm on my horn on them or not. Like, they're not moving, and they're like, no one's in the circle. There's like just me and him. He's at the yield. I'm behind him, and he's just pure stopped, looking both ways, even though the circle only goes one way, my friend. One way. It's mind-boggling to me that people don't understand this. I think it's a generation thing because maybe they didn't pop up until a little bit later. I actually need to look this up or something when they started coming around because, dear God, they're always like, "What? Why are you honking at me? Why are you honking at me?" I've literally sat there for like a minute behind someone just waiting for them to go. I'm just like, because the people are coming around the other side of the circle and they think they have to wait for them, and they're all the way on the other side of the circle and they won't go in the circle until that person exits the circle. I'm just like, please. Please get in the circle.
Switch boot.
It literally, on my way home from work, my commute time would decrease by about 5 to 10 minutes every day, every single day, if they would just use the circle correctly. Okay, that's 3,520 hours or minutes, which would be plenty of hours of time.
I love
You
how you
know
thought
that,
about this.
I've had the time to think
Humans-
about it while I'm sitting in the traffic circle waiting for people to go. All right. So guys, thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the J Word. We talked about full-time content creation. We went on our rants and positivities. Tune in for episode 5 next week. And I guess this will be our awkward goodbye.
If you guys like the content, make sure you guys share it with a friend this week.
Yes.
Helps a lot.
Yes.
We really like to. Yeah, it's fun. This is fun for
It's
us.
just doing
So
their hand.
share it if you can.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.